And welcome back to the Apocalypse. My name's Vormithrax, and this is episode 62 of our tutorial Let's Play of Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead. And in this episode, we're going to continue our base workshop building spree, see if we can get this Frankenstein's monster to actually do something for us instead of just consume resources. Alright, so in between episodes I did figure out why I was having a problem with installing the UPS recharging station, and it needs to be installed in a location that has some storage capacity. So I just need to put some kind of a trunk or box on the section of frame that I intend to put the UPS recharging station. That way you can drop items onto it and it has the cargo capacity to hold onto it essentially, and it'll charge up anything that's stored there. So that's what was causing the confusion, so good to know. And 1 second here. Alright, so let's try again. So if and I've actually changed my strategy a little bit. I am going to put a frame right here where I'm sitting. This is where I'm going to put the chair and controls. That'll free up this space for some other use. So we're going to do this right here. We're going to say install frame, and let's just yeah, we'll do one of these. I'm not sure if it makes a difference, honestly, but we'll do it that way for now. Doesn't look quite as good, but that's fine. It's connected. So now what we're going to do, we've got that, is I'm still going to use that space. So we'll do here, install, and I've got to pick some kind of cargo capacity. I don't think it has to be a lot, just enough to hold the tools, so I'm not going to go crazy. A hatch would require a steel frame to construct. Stow trunk just takes sheet metal, has 62,500. I think that will work. Floor trunk also just takes sheet metal, and that's got 87.5, so maybe that would be better. Let's give it a try. We're going to try a floor trunk. And we're going to use the welder, not my acetylene torch. Alright, so now we've got a frame with a floor trunk with 87.5 liters of storage. There we go. And that's the kind of symbol that I'd like. So now that we've got that there, if I examine and do install, I should now, I think, have the UPS compatible recharge station. There we go. We're going to go ahead and say install that there. Alright, we now have a UPS compatible recharging station. Perfect. Next up, let's put our chair and controls right here. So if I examine, go to that position, install, and let's find first, oops, controls. Not sure honestly what the difference is between these two things. I don't see much other than durability changes. I'm just going to do a standard controls. This takes one more mechanic skill, but we're just going to go with standard controls using the welder. Alright, we got our controls down. Next thing, we're going to install chair. I think I have to do that from this first list. Let's go with the reclining seat. I like the idea of a reclining seat better. Alright, so we've got a reclining seat and our controls. There we go. Okay. Now, what else do we want to put on here real quick before we start doing some of the other stuff? If we examine, and you'll see now we have the control vehicles option because I examined where the chair and the control location is. So I could do control vehicle, but there's not much I can do with it yet. So we're just going to examine to go back into this screen. So we've got our recharge station, we've got our controls and our seat. What am I going to put here and here and here and so on? So things I want to put on are a headlight. I'm actually going to mount a headlight on the wall either here or here and then aim it down this direction. That way I can have light in my workshop running off of my electrical grid at nighttime, and I won't have to be lighting lanterns or burning any other kind of fuel or energy. I can just run it right off my electrical grid. So we're going to do that. I think I initially planned on putting it in this space and aiming it diagonally down this way, because that's where most of my stockpile and where I'm likely to be sitting and doing stuff is. I'm trying to remember if I actually have a headlight that I brought in with me. I can't remember. So we'll examine, go to the corner location, say install, and yeah, we do have one somewhere nearby. So we're going to pick a headlight, and we're going to pick this direction right there. Alright, so you can see we now have a headlight installed, and it's facing this diagonal direction. Okay, so now if I controlled from the chair, and I could say turn on the headlights, and as long as I have power somewhere in the grid, then it will draw power for the headlight and shine a light. Okay, what else do we want? This space directly in front of me. We've got choices like the chemistry lab, mini fridge, kitchen unit. Maybe I'll put the mini fridge there because that's somewhat close to my fire. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I don't want to futz around with this too much, so we'll put the mini fridge right there. So we'll say install the mini fridge, and then next to it we'll install the kitchen unit. Kitchen unit. Alright, making progress. And this will allow me to cook using the electrical grid as well, so I won't have to be lighting fires to burn fuel and that. We'll just cook right off of our kitchen unit. Alright, so those are set. We're looking good. Let's examine again. And the next space down. Do install. What else do we have that looks good? I gotta put the chemistry lab somewhere. I'm not sure. I might be able to put it at the same place the kitchen is. Let's actually try that. Let's move up here. Install. Will it let us put the... I don't think it will. No, it's not coming up on the list. Yeah, I don't think it'll let us overlap that one then. I can put it right there in its own space. How much do I want the chemistry lab up compared to other options? I need to get a lot more things installed. And I gotta make sure I get some energy generation before I burn through all my battery supply. So, most important things to get done now are going to be the batteries and the solar panels. Alright, so how am I gonna do this? Oh, another thing I need to do is in this space where it goes through the wall right here, I am going to say that space there, install an opaque door. There we go. Now we have a door I can open and close, and it counts as a vehicle door, so it's perfectly fine to do that. The frame still runs underneath it. It's not going to interrupt our electrical grid or anything like that. So that is how you do that, but it also keeps the light out, so if I don't want people peeking in, then they can't. So we got our door in. How is our welders down to 300 charges, and I've got about 2,000 battery charges sitting around. Alright, let's do the solar panels before anything else, because I know where they're going to go. So let's grab the cart real quick, bring this up, say that location and the cart, and sort by solar. Alright, so we got 3 perfectly functioning solar panels with no damage. Let's get those installed. Alright, I'm just going to keep those 3 handy. Yep, I can't drag my cart over that apparently, so that's one downside. Alright, so examine our grid here. I probably actually didn't even need to bring these outside. I keep forgetting I can build from my grid from any point. I don't have to actually come out to this location. So we say install solar panel. Go to the grid down, install solar panel, and again, solar panel. There are actually advanced versions of the solar panels. I haven't seen any yet. There's a particular vehicle that has the advanced versions, and I think you can upgrade the lower level ones when you have a high enough, I think it's electronic skill. Let me look here, see if we've got nothing under advanced. So, whoops. Cancel. Find solar. Reinforced solar panel is, there it is. It's called upgraded solar panel, not advanced. So, there's the solar array, which is a dozen solar panels set on our chassis, reaching several meters high, keeps the fragile panel safely away from any potential threats, and improves efficiency due to being able to track the sun. Comes at the cost of being prohibitively heavy. So it's very heavy, hard to put on a vehicle, for example, but for a base like this, it's great because it combines a dozen solar panels in a spot. Takes quite a bit to build, so pipes, rebar, chunks of steel, and 12 solar panels. So it's definitely something to look into. It's basically the advanced version of what we're working on. Then you've got the advanced or upgraded solar array. Reinforced solar panels have reinforced glass, protect the solar cells. So a lot of other choices. We're just going to stick to the basics for now, though. You can experiment yourself with all these other choices that are out there, just so you know that they are available. Alright, so we've got 3 solar panels hooked onto our grid now, so if it were daytime and not overcast, then they would start trickling some energy in, but we need somewhere for that energy to be stored. So we've got to get some batteries down that are going to collect that energy for us. So that's where I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to do this. I've got my recharging station that I can recharge my tools at. I've got my mini fridge and my kitchen unit. I'm debating putting in the chemistry unit, but it's not critical. I can probably do it later. I also have the option of knocking this out and then continuing building this direction. I gain a few spaces that way if I wanted to move my brazier, which I probably won't use all that much anymore now that I've got a kitchen unit. So I could knock this stuff out and build a few more spaces this direction, which probably would be ideal if I wasn't short on power at the moment, but I need to get this grid up. So probably what's going to happen is I'm going to build some batteries right here, and later I would probably reconfigure this setup to be a little more efficient, but just to get the basics up and operating, that's what we're going to do. So let me get some batteries down. That's really the final key. The only other thing I want to get down is an engine that we can run with gasoline to power up the grid as well. So let's examine our grid, and I'm going to leave that space open for the moment. So we'll start right here just inside the door. I think I'll still be able to move over it if I have a battery installed there. Let's find out. Alright, so I want first a swappable storage battery case. That's really what I'm installing. The batteries are going to pop in and out of the cases. So we're going to install a swappable storage battery case. Using, again, the welder. Okay, we're going to do another one right here. Alright, so that's 2. And then we'll go ahead and install the batteries themselves. And actually for this, I want to be a little careful. I'm going to let go of that. So this is where my batteries are stored. I've got both. Well, let's take a look. So get rid of my filtered options. Alright, so find, oops. Look for storage. Alright, so the thing I want to point out here is these first few on Alright, these first few are damaged. You don't want to use damaged batteries. Now they've got some charge in them, so I would love to draw that charge out, but for the moment I'm going to, let's see here. I'm not going to put these on the grid. I'm going to install definitely this one. It's fully charged. Well, we'll install both of these. That way, the fully charged one we should see when the sun's out. So hopefully we'll see some trickle up on this one when we get it installed. All right. So what I want to make sure of is that when I tell it to install, I don't know how it chooses which one to install. So I'm going to pull these damaged ones further away so it doesn't try to grab one of those to put in. So I'll just move here. We'll say move from there, diagonal down and away. Those three. And we'll put them over here on the stairs. Alright. I think that'll be far enough away to make sure that it doesn't grab those. So we'll examine my network. And right here, install the swappable storage battery. And you can see it's completely green, so it's a healthy one. And the storage case doesn't really matter. Alright. Great. So we got green condition batteries in both locations. And you can see up here, just like a normal vehicle, we've now got swappable storage batteries installed. That shows the capacity and that shows the status. So we're at 100% status on one battery and we're at 16% status on the other. We now have an electrical grid. So we've got 3 solar panels outside. It is bright light outside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just let some time pass. Let's go eat and drink some and maybe craft up some food and then maybe just stand around for half an hour. And we'll see what our status is in our grid when we come back. So if I examine it now, it's at 16% is that extra battery. So we'll see what happens here. Trying to remember, I don't think I need to turn anything else on, and it should all be connected. We'll find out here shortly. Now, 3 low type of solar panels isn't going to be a huge energy rush, so you're not going to see that number just leap up. It's a trickle, but it makes a big difference over time. So it's definitely something you want to have if you've got the raw materials and the time to get it all set up. But don't expect that number just to jump all of a sudden, a huge amount here in a short amount of time. So I don't actually want to use my energy on anything. I want to see first to make sure that we're getting that trickle charge. So let's just eat and drink whatever we've got laying around. We'll have some water. We were really thirsty, and we'll eat. What have I got on me? Nothing. I know I've got some in the car. Let me go grab some of the food that's in the car. There it is. Alright. Jeez. We have to eat it all in order to get our hunger down. Yep. 7 smoked meats and we're still hungry. That gives you an idea just what kind of food you're going to go through. It's also day 8 in winter time, so we're about out of our meats, so that's not a good sign. Let's go ahead and cook up something though. No. I could rehydrate some meat. Let's go ahead and throw a few sticks on the fire. This should be the last time, I hope, that we're going to need to do this. And I've got filters on both sides. Alright, so there we go. Another option I have actually is I could be using the RV to do some of this as well. It's got a kitchen unit and solar cells, so I haven't checked on the battery status in the solar panel recently to see if that's charging up or not, so I'll need to do that. But for now, alright. Could do a meat pie. 6 portions, 16 nutrition per. I don't have... Yeah, I could do some pelmeni. 48 nutrition. Yeah, let's do some pelmeni. Do 3 of them. That'll burn off 2 hours, and we'll see what our trickle charge on our thing is doing, if anything. Alright, eat pelmeni. Nice hot pelmeni. That took care of it. Alright, let's go check. So it's been a couple hours. 17%. Woohoo! We gained a percent. Now, in 2 hours, that doesn't seem like much, but that's quite a bit of capacity in those storage batteries, and 2 hours isn't a lot of times. But so, like I said, you're not going to get a huge flood of energy, especially out of just 3 of those panels. I tend to want to have about 6. And then I try to get them upgraded to the arrays as soon as possible, because the power generation off of an array is essentially 12 solar panels, so it makes a huge difference. And that's why I'm always on the lookout for these solar vehicles, any of these electrical vehicles with the solar panels. And I'll stop and I'll grab those every single time, generally, if I'm out tooling about in my vehicles. So you can get these kinds of things done and improve your efficiency when you're building your network. But that does prove that things are working. So we are bringing electricity in through the solar panels, so it is all working. Energy is coming into the system, and you can't see them, but right here and here are where my batteries are located. I could do install, oops. I could come to these 2 spaces and do an install, and then pick some, like a minor cargo unit, like a floor trunk or something, just to have some kind of a graphic in that location that would remind me that that's where they're at. So your choice. You can do lots of different things in that regard if you wanted to put some kind of a graphic down, because they're kind of invisible as they are. Other things we could do, if we built the frame out to all of the spaces here, we could put aisle lights in, so we'd have some light generation constantly as well. There's just all sorts of things you can do. So if you see it in a vehicle, you can do it here in your workshop. So let's test a couple other things now. Let's get our buddy out of our chair over there. He thinks we're going for a ride here in our base, so he's trying to find a nice comfortable spot that he can sit in a vehicle. So we're in our chair. If I hit Shift 6, oh, we don't have an engine, so we can't start it up that way. What? Alright, come away from there, dude. Getting tired of you jumping on that spot. Those are just frames. So if I do Shift 6 and point at the controls, I can still control this stuff. So you can see we can turn on the refrigerator, we can turn on the recharger, and those will start draining energy as soon as I do. But let's hold off on the recharger for a second. So we know we have some generation. I do need to get the engine built and attached. That way we can burn some gasoline to charge up the power supply, or the power for our base. So let's look at that. So I know in my pile of things here, I brought back a couple of engines, and I'm thinking I'm going to save this 6.5 liter V8, and we're going to swap that into our RV. We're going to pull out the diesel engine and put this in instead. That way we can run it on standard gas instead of trying to locate or create diesel. So I think I'll use this small 2.5 liter inline 4 engine. And I think that'll give us enough energy generation when we burn gas through it that we'll get some good charge up on our batteries. It weighs quite a lot, but I shouldn't have to pick it up. It's close enough that we can just install it. The question is, where's it going to go? So if I save this and this for... I think I'll just put it right here. Let's do it. So right in this position. So if I do install... inline 4 engine right there. Alright, so we've got that installed. Now, in addition to the engine, we need a gas tank. So that's something we can refill with gas so that we can burn the gasoline. And let's see here. I don't think it'll let me put the tank in the same location. It'll let me do trunks and such, so I think there's a section for fluid tanks. Generators, there we go. Alright, so we need a metal tank 60 liters, which I know we've got. I thought I had them just sitting there in my resource pile, but maybe I've got them in the car. Search all, find nothing there. I think they're in any of those piles, so they must. I know I've got at least one. I pulled. Oh, they're sitting out. I've got one here. I don't need that anymore, so we'll grab that. Wield it. Alright, that'll work. Now remember, I brought the ones that I had pulled out previously out here. They're with funnels, gathering rainwater for us. So, alright, we've got the tank we need now, so we examine. Go back over to the engine location right there. Install. There we go. Vehicle tank. With the welder. Alright, so we've got a vehicle tank and an engine right there. And we're also going to need an alternator. And with this small one, car alternator probably do. I don't know the differentiation on when you really want or need to be using these, but if you look at the bottom right, down here you'll see information about the battery and power. So maybe I want a truck alternator. I'm just not really sure what the distinction is, but that seems to tell me that I'm going to get more battery power out of the truck alternator, so we'll go with it. Alright, now we're getting really tired, but we've got an alternator, we've got an engine, and we've got a tank all in that one location. And we're dead tired. Let's eat something real quick and then sleep, and then we're going to gas that thing up and turn it on and see how our energy generation does. Alright, so we'll do... eat some of our pelmeni. Alright, got that part taken care of. And I think I might just close, 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 close. I think I might just try to take a short nap here on my pile of filthy clothes. Or my pile of clean clothes. The reason for that is, I don't think I have the Z levels turned on in this game. They're still experimental versions of experimental, and I didn't turn them on for this playthrough. Meaning if I go downstairs and go to sleep, we won't get the benefit of time passing. The reality bubble, I don't believe, will extend up a level so that the solar arrays will continue to soak in the sunshine and just get our power up. Also, I want to make sure that we've got... I'm going to get that engine running. So, let me come back up here. Grab a steel jerry can and one of the rubber hoses. We're going to siphon some gas out of our vehicle here. So we're going to say siphon, pour into container, steel jerry can. Alright. Hopefully that didn't take it all. So we're 63% in the vehicle. That's fine. Alright, we'll come over here. And we can't see it, but this is the spot right above the intersection is where we've got all that at. So it doesn't really matter where. We just pick anywhere. Refill. And we have to pick which tank. I've only got a single tank installed. Now, another thing we can do is install other tanks, fill one up with clean water, one up with rainwater, and then we can use... I believe we can use our kitchen unit to process the water automatically into clean water. There's lots of cool things you can do by installing multiple fluid tanks, and it's a little clunky in the interface sometimes and getting the fluids in certain tanks to do certain things, and it's hard to move things around, but you can figure ways around it with a little experimentation. But I'm just going to put gas in this. That's my primary concern, is getting some fuel. So we're going to fill that tank with our gasoline. Alright, so here's our network now. You can see we're at 33% gas and 59% battery total. So out of our capacity, we're at 59% battery charge total of capacity. So 100% on one would be 50%, and we're 18%, so that's where that other amount comes from. So that's a good way of checking real quick to see how we're doing on our grid. So we've got some gas, we've got some battery. What we're going to do is I'm going to turn on the engine, and then we're going to let it run while we take a quick nap. So let's head back inside. Close that door. We will turn on the engine, so we're going to examine where our chair is to go to the controls. We're going to say we're going to turn on the engine here, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to turn anything else on right now. So we've got the engine running. We've got about a little over 5 hours of daylight, I hope, and we're going to see how this does while we try to take a quick nap over here on our pile of clothes. So we'll do Shift 4. Let's go close this door as well. Alright, I think it's dark enough in here now that we should be able to get some sleep. Yep, it says very dark. Alright, so sleep. Won't be the most comfortable sleep because we don't have a bed here, but that's fine. And you can see there's some smoke coming in. That's why I try to keep the engine kind of on a corner or a little space off, because it's loud and you can get smoke seeping through. Alright, we woke up. So it's almost midnight, so we had a pretty good long sleep. So let's check the status of things. Come back up to our control panel here, control vehicle, turn off the engine, and examine. Alright, so we're up to 69%, so between the engine running and the battery running, so we burned off some fuel. We're trading gas for battery power, basically. So in order to be really efficient, we need more solar panels. We need lots of solar panels, preferably the upgraded solar arrays. Otherwise, you're going to be burning gasoline constantly, which, depending on how much gas you find out in the wild, might not be a terrible thing. But if we're going to go that route, then we're going to need to build some larger fluid containers here in near our base to hold the excess gasoline that we're going to go harvest and bring in. But just so you know, everything's working. Let's go back to our setup here. We've got an engine attached now, so I can just sit in the seat and hit Shift 6, and the engine started up automatically. If I do Shift 6 again, you can see we've got all of our choices. Let's turn on the headlights. And look at that. We have light in our little base here. Usually I'll have a couple of headlights pointing a couple of different directions so that it fully illuminates a nice area. But now we've got very bright light that we can craft by, read by, do whatever we want to in the evenings. We can go Shift 6 again. We have dome lights. Where do the dome lights? Alright, I guess the dome lights count right under or right over your own body. So let's turn those on and turn off the headlights. And it says bright light, so we can operate with just the dome lights, and we'd be able to read and craft and so on. Now I don't think that bright light extends very far, so if I tried to, I'm controlling the vehicle, so I'd have to let go of the controls. Cloudy, very dark. So yeah, it's pretty much in the seat right where you're at, where you've got bright light. But that works great if you just want to relax in your reclining chair and read a book and do some studying. You could even craft from this location as long as you're near enough to your stockpiles. So that'll work perfectly. There. Let's turn off the dome lights. Oops. Let's turn on the recharger. It's okay to turn it on. If you're not using it, it won't pull any electricity from the grid, so I just usually leave it on, and then when I throw tools on there, it'll recharge the tools. Okay, so we've got the recharger on, everything else is off. I could start throwing food items into the refrigerator, so that'll be my main storage point from here forward for my food, and that will help preserve it so it doesn't go bad as quickly. The rest of that, let's tell it to stop driving. That way the engine turns off and we don't burn more gas. And let me look at our grid again. So because I don't have any graphics on these spaces, I can't remember what's where. So I've got 2 more spaces that I'm not using currently that I could put more things into. And we've got our batteries, the door. I don't have anything in this corner space right outside the door. Got our engine with the tank and the alternator all in the same spot, working perfectly. This frame probably would get used for more solar panels. That would probably be the best use for it. Alternatively, we could put another tank. Although we might be able to install multiple tanks in one location. I can't remember if it lets you do it or not. You'd have to try it. Alright. So next thing that's really critically important to do is to change out our tools so that we can recharge them on our UPS recharging station. Really important for things that burn batteries, like our welder that you see us using a lot. So that's going to be really hugely important. The lantern, there's just all sorts of stuff that we're going to be converting. So to do that, we're going to need to be going to these UPS conversion mods. And that's what's going to allow us to install these into our various tools, and then we can run them off of the power grid and just the small power cell. And I'm trying to think, how many of these can we build? We can build 5 of them. That'll get us through a pretty good number. And then what are we short on? Oh, just soldering iron charges. So we've got enough parts for 14, it looks like. So that's plenty. The soldering iron is one of the first things I'm going to convert to UPS. So I think what I'll do is we'll call the episode done right here. Congratulations, we have a working electrical grid in our base. Hopefully you're starting to see how much use this can be to you. Definitely not something you can do just right off the bat when you start. You've got to have a certain level of skills, a lot of resources and raw materials, and you've got to know ahead of time the kinds of things to be looting from vehicles out in the game world and other raw materials to bring back to your base. So it's kind of a pack ratter's project, basically. You got to have decided to settle somewhere and gather in a lot of materials to do this, as opposed to being a wandering hobo, just a murdering hobo that wanders around from place to place, killing everything and living off the land. That's a fun play style as well, but different times for different games. So let's call the episode done here. I got more I want to do in both the network as well as the tools, so you can just see how that's done and how useful it's going to be for us. So we'll cover that in the next episode. So as always, do hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. Check the Discord channel if you want to drop me any information or have a chat about the game or any of the games I cover on the channel. I'll be happy to talk to you about those, and I will see you in the next episode. Have a good one. Bye-bye.